Thank you guys for joining us and welcome to E-MasterCast, Chicago's one and only live business podcast here in Lincoln Park at B-Speak Studios. Today on the show we have Carl Seidman. Is it Seidman or Seidman?
Seidman.
I'm sorry, I messed it up earlier anyway. All right, so Carl Seidman. All right, so you speak on a lot of stuff, Carl. What do you want to talk about today?
Sure. So I'm happy to talk about an assortment of things. Either we can talk about business strategy, but we can also talk about where I see startup culture kind of evolving and how to grow good, sound, scalable businesses.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's talk about a couple of them. All right, let's start with business strategy. So I guess I'll start with why did you get interested in business in the first place?
Sure. So when I went to college, I started out as a science major. After about 2 months, I realized I didn't want to do that. It was something I was just interested in doing, but I realized that for the next 4 years of my life, I wasn't sure that was something I wanted to do. I'd always been interested in business. It was something that I had even gotten involved starting a couple of my own businesses in high school, but really trying to do something more in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. So I ended up switching my direction into finance and economics, and then ultimately accounting as well. But it was just an idea of being able to take things that we see on a daily basis. So seeing a chair, seeing a piece of food, seeing your lights go on. All of this is business. There are people behind everything that you see, do, experience, consume. That is a business, and understanding what goes into it and how these businesses are sustained, I think is just something that was very fascinating to me.
Okay, awesome. So where are you from?
Originally from suburban Detroit, and I moved out to Chicago about 11 years ago.
Okay, nice. Okay, so I did a little research on you, and I found, I don't know if it's old, I don't know if you're still doing it now, but was the first retirement?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the first retirement.
Okay, well, I guess when people do a little bit of internet research, that's one of the first things they see.
Yeah.
But about 3 years ago or so, I got to a point in my career where I recognized that I could do a lot of what I was doing on my own. So I had been working for a firm, very strong, good firm, doing strategic consulting, turnaround and restructuring for middle market businesses. And I simply just got to a point where I said, you know what, there's a lot of what I can do and do it on my own. I don't necessarily have to do it for middle market businesses. There's a huge number of businesses that are below middle market that need the same services that I can do. So I said, you know, instead of just taking a week off between leaving this job and starting a new one, why don't I take a good amount of time off to do some traveling, to work on setting up this business, to pursue some entrepreneurial ideas, and then come back to have this runway that I can jump on as soon as I get back. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of coined it the first retirement because I have a philosophy that modern retirement for most of the people in this country is unsustainable, given that close to half of the people in this country have no savings. Mm-hmm. Most people have no pension coverage from their jobs. Right. And Social Security, I mean, the amount that Social Security provides for a retiree is really not enough to live off of. Mm-hmm. So my belief is that we have to have interim retirements throughout our lives and take that time, not just to refresh, but to reinvent ourselves. It's not just taking a time out and sitting around and not doing anything. It's taking that time to reinvent, identify where either your life or your career or a certain industry is going, and pivot into that direction.
I like that a lot. I feel like I'm in my first retirement already, but I'm still broke. Okay, so how did you pivot? How did you pivot personally?
Sure. So what I did was, when I was working in my prior consulting firm, I was working a tremendous number of hours, some very high power, stressful situations. And I got to the point where I said, you know what, I actually need to clear my head a little bit so that I can focus on what I think is necessary and right. So I did take some time off, cleared my head. I started doing a bit more speaking, some more training, some more consulting, a lot of writing. So to actually identify where I thought the next stage of my life and my career would go. And then when I came back, I had identified opportunities in all those areas for me to actually start embarking upon when I got back.
Gotcha. Nice. So do you still keep that active and current? Or you moved on?
The first retirement?
Yeah.
It's still a blog. I haven't written on it in a while.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm probably going to be migrating some of the content over to my other website. which is going to be carlseidman.com.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's still a philosophy I believe very strongly, and I actually just gave a TEDx talk about 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay.
On this very topic.
Awesome. So what did you say in the talk?
Well, the title of the talk was Why I Retired at 32. It wasn't how I retired at 32, it was why. And it's the belief that, again, modern retirement is going to be largely unsustainable for much of this country. And then it's up to all of us to reinvent ourselves, to continue to learn and development and identify where the demand is in the future. Our world is changing very rapidly, and just because you got a degree or an education or a job when you're 18 or 22 doesn't mean that that's the same one you're going to have when you're 32 or 42 or 52 or 62 or even beyond if you're going to be working for a long work life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it sounds like you're trying to pivot away from the first retirement, so I'll change topics on you. So we talked about business strategy a little bit. So as far as entrepreneurs go, what is an area that you see most entrepreneurs struggle as far as business strategy goes?
I would say there's a couple of things. Even before business strategy starts, you had mentioned this before, is that a lot of times it's just about getting started instead of doing so much analysis and research. I've worked with probably close to 200 businesses throughout my career, and I'm always astounded and incredibly impressed by a lot of business owners' abilities to just get out there and start. Instead of having all of their T's crossed and I's dotted, they're just saying, I'm 25% of the way there, that's enough for me. So I'm going to go out there and start this work, start this product, start this service, and figure it out as I go along. I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to lose money, things aren't going to go very well, but I'm going to do it. So I find that works out very, very well, is just to get started. Once you get a business that's established, not necessarily sustainable, but one that has been established, something that I see a lot of businesses struggle with in strategy is not really know where they're going. Is they just identify what that product or that service is, and they think, well, as long as I create it, they will come. It's kind of the field of dreams mantra. If I build it, they will come. But what if you're selling the wrong product to the wrong people? What if you're selling the wrong product to the right people? The right product to the wrong people, right? The wrong price, whatever it may be. Just because you create something to sell or to produce doesn't mean that the world is going to come and say, yes, give me more. So what I try to do with a lot of companies is help them identify why they're making the product, why they're making the service, who are the right customers, what is the right product mix, the right price point, and where they want to be in 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now, how to make that happen. I am quite astounded sometimes when I meet businesses who say, I'm just going to create something and everything's going to work out. Mm-hmm. If you know what your destination is and you have a better idea of how you're going to get there, you're more likely to be successful.
Very true, very true. And you are a consummate professional because that street sweeper went by like 8 times.
I haven't even noticed it.
Okay, all right, so I'm sorry for the listeners.
No, that's fine.
All right, okay, awesome. All right, so how was the TEDx experience?
It was great. It was something that, I watch TED Talks probably at least once a week. It's just a great way to hear about what interesting, innovative, intelligent people are doing. It's also a way of listening to provocative ideas that are really not necessarily talked about in school or in the workplace. So when I did my first retirement, to go back to that, I had a number of people who were following me as I was traveling and creating, saying, you know what, you should really speak on it, write a book, whatever it may be. And there was an opportunity where TEDx, IIT, which is the Illinois Institute of Technology, was looking for speakers at their TEDx conference. I have a colleague of mine who went to law school there and offered to sponsor me in that talk. So we put together some content and he sponsored me, and I'm very grateful that I was selected. But it was a great experience. I think about 20 speakers, hundreds of people who were there, and a chance to share some very interesting, provocative ideas that I think need to be out there.
Awesome. So speaking of something that's very important to entrepreneurs, like we have to be able to sell ourselves, we have to be able to sell our brand, we have to be able to sell our products,
yes,
and everything. So I know you're in Toastmasters a couple. I know you've been speaking for a long time. What are some tips you can give entrepreneurs to better present themselves?
Sure. I can't advocate enough for Toastmasters or just public speaking in general. I was just talking with Eric some time ago about the inability of some entrepreneurs or business owners to articulate what it is that they do. And if you're going to go speak to a customer or a supplier or an investor and you can't articulate in 30 seconds what you do, you're in a lot of trouble. So I don't necessarily just look at public speaking as getting in front of a crowd of 100 people and giving a speech. It's actually being able to articulate your ideas, your arguments, hold yourself well, establish credibility, build confidence in a way that's going to help your business. So one of the best ways in my mind to learn is actually through teaching. So I do a lot of training. But then when it comes to speaking, it helps me be more in tune with what I do, why it's important, communicate ideas very simply and concisely. And I think that that's important for any business owner or anyone who works in a business. And then also I think that there's an element of humility that has come to me through public speaking, whereas many years ago, towards the beginning of my career, I felt that I needed to have all of the right answers, and I needed to be the expert in the room. But I think that as I've gotten a little bit older and more mature, I've recognized that somebody who possesses humility and exposes themselves in kind of a vulnerable way seems to be a bit more human and can be a business partner or somebody you really want to work with. If I meet somebody who has all of the answers and believes that they are always right and are going to be up in the front of the room and say, I am right, I know all the answers, I'm the best, I'm a genius, that's probably not a real person, and I'm not sure that that's somebody I want to work with.
Right.
So through public speaking, I think that you can really hone that message and craft who you are as a person.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and a person like that, you definitely don't want to work with, because it's going to be hell from the, you know what I mean? From the beginning.
Right.
And so after business strategy, you said something else. What else do you usually speak on?
I do a lot of training. I work in strategy. I work in finance. My education is in finance, economics, and accounting. So I do a lot of training on forecasting, on financial modeling, on business planning. I do training in controller and CFO skills, cost accounting. It's really an assortment of helping companies and professionals turn their businesses, or at least interpret their businesses through numbers, because numbers don't lie.
Right.
People do, numbers don't. Right? So a lot of businesses that I work with have not great finance functions, not great transparency into what their financials say.
Why do you think that is?
I think most business owners just don't have much of financial acumen. If you look at the general population, we have a real problem with financial literacy in this country. And I think it's just because most people, it doesn't come intuitively, and they say, I'm just going to hire a CPA or an accountant or a financial advisor to do it for me because I'm not going to take the time to learn. So I find it to be very, very important to train and educate business owners to get at least a fundamental understanding of finance and accounting, so you can look at a profit and loss statement, a balance sheet, and know where you stand. You don't necessarily need to be able to value your company until long ways away. But you do need to be able to take a look at your cash balance, your accounts receivable, how much you owe suppliers, how much you have in debt if you have any. These are all really basic fundamentals of finance, and something you can learn in probably half a day of either training or reading a book. Yeah,
that's true. So what resources do you recommend people look into? I just got the audiobook by Ramit Sethi. I don't know if you heard of him. I Will Teach You to Be Rich or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I know the title sounds kind of cheesy, but it's a good book. But so what do you recommend?
I think it depends on what your learning style is. I can advocate all day, take one of my trainings, but it really depends on how you learn. I will often ask somebody, do you learn best by listening? Do you learn best by doing? Do you learn best by watching? So if it's watching and listening, go get a video. There's probably thousands of videos out there on fundamentals of finance and accounting for non-finance and accounting people. Go to your public library and get a book for free. Your taxes are paying for it. So go to the personal finance department, go to the business and career section and pull out a book. If you really need to be more spoon-fed or have your hand held, go to a training. There are some trainings out there that you could probably do for $50, $100, $200, and you'll get the foundation of finance and accounting that you probably need to take your business a little bit further.
Okay. Do you have any specific recommendations?
One that I think is great is you can,
outside of your
Sure, sure. I mean, I will sometimes do trainings and I don't get paid a dime for it.
Mm-hmm.
At SCORE, it's SCORE. It's a division of the Small Business Administration, and the SBA is, I think, probably the highest subsidized small business resource in the city of Chicago. They get money from the city, they get money from the state to help small businesses grow and small business owners get education. So one of the classes that I taught there a couple months ago, and I'll continue to teach it for the next couple of months, is customer strategy and product pricing. Again, I don't charge anything. I think it's $50 for somebody to go. Nice. And they get 2 to 3 hours of very inexpensive but good education. Every single day at SCORE downtown, which I think is, it's at the Ogilvy train station up at the office. But they offer usually 2 seminars every single day. And that can range from exactly what I just mentioned on customer and market strategy, to QuickBooks, to taxes, to PR, to social media. So you can get really affordable education from some experts in this city.
Awesome. And I think they're in pretty much every, if not major city, every...
They are. I know that they have them in out east. I know they have them down in Texas, California. They're probably in every major market in this country.
Okay. So where do people need help the most, do you think? What I mean, as far as finance goes for your business, what is like a hot topic that most people struggle with?
I think that where a lot of companies struggle and where there's a tremendous amount of opportunity is understanding how to convert your business into numbers and how to actually drive your business from the numbers. I think a lot of companies look at their QuickBooks account, which is what a lot of small businesses use, or Xero or FreshBooks, any one of those. But they're doing bookkeeping, and then at the end of the month they just say, okay, well, here are my reports, and now it's time to move on to the next month. They don't do anything with them. But you can take a look at those numbers and identify, well, where am I making the most money? Where am I making the most effective money, profitability? Where am I sending out a lot of cash before I actually bring anything in? So I think that it's important to take a look at your financials and understand what your business says. I'm working with a company right now, I actually just started recently, where they're working on a bunch of different projects and they have no idea which ones are the most profitable. And they don't know what the timing of cash payments and cash collections are. And just this past week we took a look and it became quite a surprise to them, actually quite a shock, that they were putting out a lot of money before they were even billing and collecting it.
Wow.
So there's so much to learn from looking at your numbers that you can become much more profitable, much more economical. You might actually not need to grow your sales at all. You can just improve your profit, do less work, make more at the bottom line. And for most companies, that's what I articulate as most important. At the end of the day, it's most important what hits your bank account, not how big your top line is, because that might not ultimately hit your bank account.
Right. Nice. Okay. And good. All right. So I have one more question to start the wrap up. But so I have a son. He's turning 4 in July. A little girl coming along in July also. What should I don't know. Do you have kids?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. All right. So what are you going to teach your kids about entrepreneurship and finance and leadership and everything? What are you going to teach your kids?
That's a great question. And as it relates to my TED Talk and a lot of the talks that I do, I care so much about what the future of this country becomes, because I oftentimes don't think that we're on the right track in a lot of ways as it relates to education and career trajectory. But what I would tell kids is don't be afraid to stick your neck out when it comes to ideas. I've done quite a bit of improv comedy throughout the last 10 years. Okay. And there's an exercise that I think is absolutely fantastic that involves elements of improv. Basically, there's a fundamental of improv that is yes and. You acknowledge what was just said and you add to it. And there's an exercise that brings improv into business. You stand around in a circle, it's a bunch of business people, and one person suggests an idea for an infomercial, selling some kind of product to some kind of audience, and that first suggestion is probably the dumbest idea you've ever heard of in your life. But the rule is that you have to say yes, and it does this, or and the audience or the potential customers want that.
Yeah.
So it starts out with a horribly ridiculous idea,
Yeah.
but you build on it. And it's almost like you create a pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time you're done with the exercise, you've gone from a stupid, horrible idea to actually a really good one. And that's what I would say to young people, is instead of trying to just stay in line and conform with what's expected of you, don't be afraid to come up with ideas, to maybe be laughed at, because ultimately you're going to build more ideas on top of those, and you're going to come up with something great. Eventually you will. So one day when I have kids, and might not be off in the too far distant future, it's going to be about pursuing your ideas, not thinking that you have to stay completely in line with what everybody expects you to. Color outside of the lines.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. I like that. I'll definitely tell my kids the yes and. But also, I really asked because I knew that if you can explain something to a kid, you can explain something to anyone.
Absolutely.
You know, so everybody who's watching this right now will take that advice and hopefully learn from it and build something.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay. All right. So, is there anything you want to say before that you didn't get to say?
Sure. Just kind of my philosophy in business and in life is get out there and don't be afraid to try things that make you uncomfortable. Believe in companies that are trying to make a difference and create good, sustainable work practices that are also rooted in integrity. I think that over the last probably 15 years, in many ways, business, I guess in the beginning of the 2000s, business lost its way. But I think that it's very important to stay true to who you are, make sure that you're working for companies that believe in strong values and integrity, creating good products and good services for the people who need them, and constantly be on a trajectory of growth and learning. Never ever stop learning, and constantly try to push yourself into being something bigger and better than you are today.
Perfect. All right. So once again, the last thing, how can myself and the coaches in the audience, how can we help you?
Sure. So I obviously do a lot of training and speaking, also coaching and consulting. But what I'm very enthusiastic about today is being able to spend time with professionals and in companies that are looking to be the best in their industry or in their market. And that comes in not only just making great products and services, but by being great places to work. A lot of people believe it's just about creating a great environment and a great culture. I think that that's part of it, but it's also about identifying what the way forward is, articulating your strategy and vision, not just through the leadership, but to every single person who works at that company. I love spending time meeting with those people, helping them craft a great culture as well as a great vision and strategy for the way forward.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.